and then this is
This
real.
is real.
Okay, so this is Carolina. She's literally actually insane. The sweetest person. I feel like honestly getting to know you in the past, like, we really like known each other like a month, really know
Right,
each other,
like
which is awesome. And it's just been so sweet because I feel like you're like very special and like very like I don't know. I just like you just like really are very thoughtful. I think about like everything, which is just like super cool. And I think you've kind of like had your like you were saying like it's like I feel like you've come to know God like in your own way and I don't know, just like in a very thoughtful way. And so I just wanted to like talk to you about it because it's literally like so cool. And of course, like I don't know, everybody's special. But like it's
everyone
like,
is
but it
perfectly
is the thing.
made.
I guess that's the thing. It's like, but you're yourself, and I guess that's when you become. I thought about that before. I'm like, I think everybody's special. It's like some people choose to be themselves, and then they're special, and so it's like just awesome because
Yeah.
you're so special.
Well, I think you're special too.
Thank you.
And I've been so
Mhm.
happy to like get to know you
Mhm.
better over the past month. I feel like we've known each other. We met years ago, but we've never gotten to know each other.
I know,
And
yeah.
I feel so grateful.
It's so sweet, and it's so sweet. Like when that happens, where you're like, I kind of know you, but now I know you.
Yeah.
And you like graduated,
Mm-hmm.
so new chapter, and so there's just like a lot of things that are probably changing in your life, which is super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like yeah, we could just start with like I don't know, like your childhood, like whatever, like how, like where you feel like yeah, when did you kind of come to know Jesus, or like why would you even care to know Jesus, right? Like the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to the
Mm-hmm.
childhood. I grew
Let's
up.
go back.
Let's go all the way back. I grew up Catholic.
Yeah.
And I loved being Catholic. I loved growing up Catholic. I went to Catholic schools for 12
cool.
years. So I was studying religion in school for the whole time. I mean, as much as you can study when you're in like first and second grade.
Yeah.
We would still have exams on the Bible and, Catholic schools, so saints. We had
So cool.
certain ceremonies, certain
So cool.
traditions like any other school,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of them revolved around Catholicism. So I had a knowledge, I would say, about God. It was kind of an unquestionable thing for me whether or not
It's
God
like,
was real.
and that's so awesome.
Yeah.
What a gift, right?
It is a gift, and I'm very grateful for it. My whole family is incredibly involved in the Catholic Church that I grew up going to. And, everyone where I'm from kind of goes to the school that their parents went to, that their grandparents went to. So it's very special to be able to learn about God in the same environment that your whole family did.
Yeah.
Which I, again, am very grateful for. And one of the reasons why I ended up at Pepperdine is because I had never gone to a school that wasn't Christian.
Yeah, wow.
And that was a huge deciding factor for me.
Wow.
But around senior year of high school, I hit my rebellious phase. And for me, the Lord and faith and Catholicism, Christianity was so intertwined with my upbringing and school and all the authority figures in my life that it became the thing that I rebelled most on.
Wow.
So I turned away from God.
And do you remember that? Were you like, I don't believe in God? Like that was your.
I had a friend who didn't
Yeah.
believe in God. She went to my Catholic school with me for high school. And I'm so grateful for this friend. Like, she was an amazing friend to me, but I think we were operating under
same.
different lenses
Oh, wow.
because at the beginning of our friendship, we would have arguments about it.
Yeah.
And she was very atheist, did not believe in a God or anything.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much an argument, it was more like an appeal. I would say, well, what about this and this and this and all these things that we were taught? And she would counter it, and it made me start to think about it in a very critical way because there were a lot of objections and doubts being brought to me, and I was openly accepting them. And then I think by the time we were best friends, I kind of just fell under the same belief that she had, which was, I never believed that there wasn't a God, but I was less attuned to the community behind God and the logistics of the Bible.
Yeah.
And there was so much doubt in my mind. So I put that on the back burner. And I lived my life under this assumption that that wasn't the most important thing and then that was under question. So I should focus on the things that are practical or tangible.
That aren't like under question.
Like worldly things.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to get depressed,
Mm. Mm.
which I never made that correlation. I thought it was, the transition from high school to
Mhm.
college, losing my community, losing my environment.
Wow, yeah.
And because I was focused on the tangible things, that was no longer a consideration. And I came to Pepperdine freshman year. I was still feeling that way. I still felt very disconnected from life and like meaning.
Mhm.
And I was very grateful for the friends I made freshman year
Mhm.
and the opportunities I had and a lot of the experiences, but I was not walking with God in mind.
Yeah.
And at Pepperdine, of course,
Mhm.
sophomore year, 95% of the student body goes abroad
Yeah.
because we have amazing programs.
Yeah.
I went to Switzerland
Awesome.
the first year of their new campus, which was this beautiful chateau. And I was so excited. And I get out there. I was sad to leave my friends, still operating under this like lens that when tangible things change, that impacts your emotional
Yeah.
state and your environment has to do with it. But I was grateful to be there. The second I started traveling and getting to know people and cultures and how different people across the ocean could be, much less in places like East Asia and Africa, but even in Europe, it was so different.
Yeah.
I was very confused
Mhm.
about my place in the world.
Mm.
And it was confusing to me how I could connect and relate to people that grew up thousands of miles away from me in a different country, speaking a different
Yeah.
language. And I just had no lens to look at that through that made sense because
Well.
I was operating, I keep saying operating, but I was operating from a lens of myself being the most important thing
Mhm.
in my life, which limited my perspective.
Mhm.
And it made it impossible for me to have these two things existing at the same time. The fact that I thought I was the center of the universe,
Yeah.
and the fact that I was being opened up to a whole new, like,
World.
plethora of worlds.
Like,
Um,
whoa.
it didn't
I didn't even know these things existed.
yeah, it didn't make
So
sense
cool.
to me. I was like, this has been going on the whole time I've been alive, and before then it
Wow.
will continue afterwards. I had to broaden my perspective, but it didn't make sense with how I was living.
Whoa.
And that's when I started going to house church
Mhm.
because the people within my abroad community, the group that
Mhm.
went, started having house churches once a week, and they would talk about it, and they were all experiencing the same sort of things that I was experiencing,
Mhm.
which felt strange because these were Christians.
Yeah.
These were people who were reading the Bible every day, who would talk about God, people that I felt so different from.
Yeah.
It was them, and then it was like
Me.
me.
Yeah.
And I was relating to them. They were
Mhm.
talking about how they were trying to understand these cultures and these countries they were visiting every weekend and these experiences. The difference was that they had a godly lens.
Mm.
So they were talking about, how beautiful humanity is and how amazing it is and how intricately we are made so that when we cross an ocean, we can still make relationships with people
Wow.
and have God in common, have um, just humanity in common. And that started to make things make sense, hearing people
Whoa.
talk about it that way.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I've been wrong.
Whoa.
So I began to read the Bible on my phone. I didn't have a physical Bible
Mhm.
at the time, but I was reading it on my phone. I would go to these house churches, I would journal about God,
Whoa.
I would talk to God. And that's when I began my journey towards building a relationship with Jesus. But it was difficult because, especially at a Christian university
Mhm.
where a lot of people go because they themselves are Christian and they follow the Lord and they read the Bible,
Yeah.
there were so many people who were more knowledgeable than me
Mm. Mhm.
about the Bible and
Yeah.
God and faith life
Yeah.
and what it looks like to implement your faith
Mhm.
in your day to day. And I felt so behind. I was like, I'm 20, 21 years old at this point,
Whoa.
and I was like, I've been to
I've
school.
got here too late.
I got here too late.
So crazy.
Which I never thought before because I grew up learning about the Bible in school, so I thought that I had the knowledge.
Yeah.
But then I would look at these people who were reading it on their own
Wow.
and choosing it for themselves. And I was like, I don't know anything. I don't remember
Whoa. And
anything.
so do you think that kind of like how did that make you feel? Like what did that kind of I don't know. Like you did that was that kind of where your like otherness, like I'm not a part of you came from, yeah.
Yeah, it
And then
did.
was there a period where it was like, okay, like now how do you look at that? Now it's like cuz I mean it's kind of funny because there's always going to be people who know more than us.
Oh, my mom said growing up, my mom always said, like, there's always gonna be someone smarter, prettier, funny, or
Yeah.
whatever in the room, and you can't gauge your worth based on that person
Yeah.
because, you are who you are. But it was very much like that. It was now when I look back, I laugh at myself because
Mhm.
I know
Mhm.
that a lot of people, talk the talk
Mhm.
and maybe they're trying to walk the walk, but someone can say I'm working on discipline with
Mhm.
my faith and reading the Bible every day, and you might hear that not knowing them and you'd say,
You're like, "Oh,
"Wow,
bro."
like I'm so behind. They're
Yeah.
so disciplined. They're thinking about this stuff." Um Meanwhile, you don't know that they haven't read their Bible in like a week
Yeah.
and, they're still saying it, they're still trying. It's not
Yeah.
untruthful
It's
that they're
like kind of
trying.
realizing that everybody's just kind of putting like kind of saying things.
Everyone just says
It is
what
also
they want to be
interesting because
true.
it's like, and I guess like, do you think like there came a place where you're like, wait, like even if this person's doing all these things, like it's really interesting because it's like even if it's just such an interesting thing because I'm like that is such an interesting question because it's like okay, are some people closer to God than
Mhm.
others? And it's like I don't know because it's kind of weird because it's like I don't really know if that even makes sense in general. Like, is the pastor closer than the whatever like us. And it's
Right.
like, I don't
Right.
know. I don't know. That doesn't really feel right. So is it like, I feel like it's really interesting because I'm almost like, I feel like and this is like totally just a guess or like, I don't even know. It's like, it almost feels like it's like, who's opening themselves. Like, God is as close to all of us and he's like close to all of us, but like, are we allowing him to be close to us?
Right. Right. And
And so
that
it's like, there's things that people are doing, but it's like, we don't even know what that means. Like, you don't know if like, yeah, I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. It's like, are you letting yourself be known by God because it's not like he doesn't know you fully. So you are very close to him
mhm.
in any moment. The person, right? We are all very close to him. I
We
don't know.
are.
It's an
I
interesting thing.
Well, he's close to us regardless of
Yes.
whether or not we know
Yes.
that he's close to us. I think when I ask that question, the answers that I usually get are really different from each other. Like, you could say, I know that certain people struggle with certain things
Mm-hmm.
based on how they were made and their parents and their upbringing and maybe just
Yeah.
how they function.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I struggle with reading my Bible every day because I am a disorganized person.
Mm.
My head is always in
Break that off in
100 different
Jesus' name. Break
places.
that off in Jesus' name.
I don't want it to be true and I'm working on
No,
it. And I,
pray for a sound mind.
please, yeah,
Yeah.
stillness. But
Uh-uh.
I do struggle with that. I know that about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that someone else might not struggle with that aspect, but they might struggle with a different aspect
Mm-hmm.
of their faith. And I think the effort that we put in to be close to God and to work on those things and to listen to Him and learn His voice, I think that that's kind of what you're speaking to is, how open do we make ourselves
Yeah.
to the Lord? Because He's always trying to find us. We are
Yeah.
always the one that He leaves the 99
Yeah.
for.
Wow.
But whether or not we recognize His presence is a choice that we make.
Yeah.
And you can make any choice any day
Yeah.
to not recognize God that day, to recognize God that
So good.
day, to look
Mm-hmm.
for Him, to be reminded of Him. But it's whether or not we make that choice that
Yeah.
determines how close we allow ourselves to be to the Lord. And I think that when I first started my journey
Mm-hmm.
towards God, I had so many walls up.
Really?
So many walls up.
You're like, bro,
I
you can't get in here.
I was like, I'll tiptoe closer to you, but I'm too scared to break down this wall. But then I would break down that wall after standing in front of it for a long time. And then
Wild.
I would tiptoe towards the next wall.
Wow.
And it was kind of monotonous for me. It was like going to the gym and trying to make your arms bigger, but you don't see any
Yeah.
improvement.
Yeah.
And you're still doing it every day, and you're
Yeah.
just hoping that one
At some
day
point, there's gonna be.
you'll see improvement. That's what I felt like I was doing. I felt
Wow.
like I was walking in the dark, for a while when it came to my path towards really having faith because I didn't feel like I believed it for the longest
Whoa.
time. I just sort of hoped that one day I'd wake up and I would
Wow.
think to talk to God that day when I was going through whatever
Yeah.
came my way that day. So if there was a challenge with money, I hoped that orienting myself and reading the Bible and praying would guide me to, in that moment, think of God and put
Wow.
my faith in Him. But there were so many times where I didn't. And then I'd look back and I was like, well, what am I doing it for? Like, it feels like I'm not getting anywhere. It feels like my faith isn't growing. It feels like I'm pretending.
Wow.
And that was so difficult
So
because I
interesting.
was hard on myself for
Yeah.
that.
Do you think like I don't know, that is such an interesting thing, like how much because okay, I was reading this book actually on like marriage yesterday,
Hmm.
and it was talking about how that we think as like in like our world, like to love someone is to like we think that the feeling of love is what makes us and then we act on that, right?
Hmm.
And this guy was saying that pretty much is like, you need to love people even though you don't feel it. And then he was saying your feelings catch up. Like, and what he was saying is like, as a pastor, there's people, this guy wrote the book, was a pastor, and he's like, there's people who he didn't love in his, like, didn't like, right? Or love in his congregation, let's say, like, naturally. He's like,
Hmm.
but I treated them with love. And he was like, it was the weirdest thing. Like, months later, I just found myself, like, loving them.
Right.
And he's like, and it isn't like he was saying like he's special. He's like, that's just the way it is. Like when you treat people with love. And that's kind of interesting. It's almost like similar to like that. It's like we are so caught up in we're trying to be, think sometimes being like true and honest. Not everybody, but some people are. And that can be an interesting thing because like for me, I feel like that was a big barrier with like I didn't want to like act like I was at some place that I wasn't or trusted God in a way that I didn't. But then that's so interesting because that's literally faith to an extent
That's what it
is being
is,
like I
just
don't really feel this yet, but I'm gonna choose to feel this,
right.
and then it just is crazy, like what you're saying, because now you're at a point. I'm sure you're at a very different place, and
Definitely.
so it's like almost more honest. I feel like, but that's something that's really interesting because it's almost more. It's like your true desire was to be there, right? So you're like almost believing for it, like it's like putting faith towards it is like some of that stuff, and then you get there, but it's just so interesting.
It takes a lot of
Hmm.
experiences where you make the cognitive active choice
Yeah,
to believe that things are going to work out even when you have no
no
evidence that they
evidence.
will. And as someone who struggled with anxiety my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
that was really difficult because every time a challenge came
Yeah,
my
so much easier
way,
to.
I felt like worrying about it and putting it all on my shoulders would be what solved the issue
Yeah,
because that's what I had always done. And it worked in my brain, it worked, but it caused me so much pain and
yeah.
turmoil. And there were decisions that I made a little later into my faith journey once I had established more of an individual narrative of what my faith journey was and my testimony. There were times where issues would come up regarding an internship or a class
Yeah.
or a relationship or a friendship. And I would have to force myself to
Whoa.
say, I don't have the bandwidth to worry about this the way I normally do.
I'm not gonna do
I'm
it.
not going to. I'm going to give it up to God. I'm going to pray
Wow.
about it every time it comes up in my brain.
So good.
And at first, that was more stressful for me
Yeah.
because I had to let go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would be double hard on myself. There's a better way to phrase that, but that's what I have. I would be way harder on myself during that time because I was mad at myself for having anxiety
Mm.
but then it worked out.
It's like so. It's like just. It's like the little like decisions you make end up.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I feel like repeatedly, I think in the Old Testament a lot, I think in a lot of what we were reading in
Mm-hmm.
church recently was God saying to his people, I showed you that I would show up for you
Wow.
and
Yeah.
deliver you. And a day later, you're denying
Oh my
me and
gosh.
not having faith in me
Me every day. So
every
bad.
single
It's so
day.
bad. He
So
does something every day, and then literally the next day, you're like, I don't know if you're gonna come through. It's like, oh my
yeah,
gosh.
and we ask for evidence all the time, like, God, show me a
Show
sign
me.
that you're there, show me a sign it'll work out. and then he shows us and we forget about it
Forget.
the
It's
next
just our
day.
character. It's so funny.
It's how it takes a lot of intention to view the way he delivers you as evidence
Yeah.
of his presence in your life
Yeah.
instead of coincidence
Yeah.
or whatever your brain wants to tell you in the moment. And I think that doing that over and over again has left me in a position now where I can make that choice. I still don't sometimes,
Yeah.
but I know that it's within my power to choose to trust God.
Yeah.
And that is how I have defined my growth in faith is
Well,
how much easier it has gotten
to
to
just
make that
trust him. That's
choice.
awesome.
And I feel so grateful for it,
Wow.
but I didn't see that change happening while it was happening.
And now you're like, okay, well, now this is like something that I just go to. Like I just go to you.
Absolutely.
It is wild. And so you feel like, wow, that's awesome. And so you were telling me this morning because something happened last night, right? Is this
Mhm.
that's kind of an example of all this? It's right. You
Yeah.
because you had some bank thing happen, right?
Right. So I actually got scammed while
Oh
trying
my
to
god.
sell my TV. I'm moving back home for the rest of the
Okay.
summer and I was trying to sell my TV. I've
Mm-hmm.
never tried to sell things that were very expensive before, and this was probably the first example of it. And I made a couple decisions that were not the right
Wait, don't
decisions.
stress. What happened?
I didn't give anyone any information, but the people I was on the phone with had access to certain things I didn't want them to have access to. And I think it wasn't that I knew they had access to them, it's that I realized I was in the process of being scammed and then I shut it down, but I didn't know if I had given them access to
Yeah.
something. Um, and so I freaked out and I called my bank and I was on the phone with them for a long time. And I changed all of my information, I changed all of my PINs and passwords, and I went in and changed my passwords to everything that I have a
Whoa.
password to out of fear. And when you're in that state, you
You're just
can't,
like, zzz.
yeah, you're
Like
like
I need to
a
figure this out.
bee.
Like everything's falling down. Like
Right. It feels like your
I
world
need
is
to catch it.
crashing. Yeah. And those are scary things because they can really impact your life, especially during a
It's so
transitional
funny, and you're.
period.
I feel like almost I get in like a place where I'm just like, not now, God. I can't like trust you
Right.
right now. Like I
Right.
need to get to
It
this
was
right now.
on my shoulders. I
Yeah,
was like,
it's
these are
like,
the things I need to
especially
do.
when you feel like it's like there's like a rush to something. You're like, oh, I mean, I would trust you, but I have too little time to
Yes.
trust you.
It's the imminent danger aspect. And I feel like that's the question I ask myself frequently is like, it's easier when the issue is relational and
Yeah,
it's not pressing or
but when
when it's
something's
about the
pressing,
future.
it's like, where are you going?
It's where what am I going to do about
Yes.
it, not what are you going to do about it. So I had my hour of freaking out. I figured out all the passwords and
Yeah.
changed everything. And then I tried to go to sleep that night. I finally got to sleep. Woke up at 3 a.m.
Oh, Carolina.
It was I just woke up out of nowhere. I got a text on my phone from my bank that said that they had shut off some kind of pin and if I didn't do this that I need to call them immediately.
Whoa.
I call them, I'm on hold for 30 minutes.
At
They
3 a.m. in the
answer
morning.
3 a.m. I'm just trying not to wake up my roommates. They answer the phone. I give them a little bit of information. They say they're going to look into it another 30 minutes.
Hmm.
Then they take me off of hold and they say, we need a little more time. And then they put me on hold again. So it's an hour and a half has gone
Oh,
by now. And I have a choice. I
yeah.
could either sit there and ruminate about all the things that could be going
Hmm.
wrong, which is what I had started to do. And then on the couch I was sitting on, my Bible and my journal
We're
were
like right
right there. I'd put them
there.
down 2 days earlier on the
Before all this
couch.
happened, before the
Yeah.
drama.
Before all the drama.
Hmm.
And I looked at them, and the first thing I thought was, wow, I shouldn't be leaving things around for my roommates to have to deal with. But then I thought,
Oh,
of
wait.
course,
Yeah.
it's there for a reason. So I look in the back of my Bible, and I have a little bit of a
So cool.
guide
This is a
that
cool
gives
Bible.
you words and shows you where to find
Anybody
them in the
in
Bible.
searching for a new Bible, get one like that. I want
Definitely
one.
get one. No, you need to. It's amazing. Like I just opened it. It says the word treasure, and there's multiple different verses that it
Refers to.
mentions treasure in.
And so you went to what did you go to?
I went to Psalm 25 because I looked for trust. I was looking for anxiety, but that wasn't one of the words in the glossary. So I
So you're
looked
like,
for
what counters
trust.
anxiety?
Yeah,
Trust.
yeah. So I opened, it wasn't even the first one on the list.
It was just random,
It
kind of.
was random. I was out of it. I was so stressed. I
Oh
was so
yeah, it's like
tired.
4 a.m.
Yeah, so I just go to the first one I see and I'm reading it and it says, I trust in you, my God. Do not let me be disgraced or let my enemies rejoice in my defeat. No one who trusts in you will ever be disgraced, but
Wow.
disgrace comes to those who try to deceive others,
Wow.
which felt very
So
applicable
applicable.
to a scammer because in today's world, because there are so many scammers and there's
Yeah.
so much deception going on, I talked to so many people about this experience over the phone. My uncle, my mom,
Yeah.
my brother, my gate guard at my apartment,
Everybody knows.
everyone. And the first thing they said was, there's so many scammers out there and they're trained to deceive you.
So crazy.
And it's harder these days to catch it. And I was just thinking about that all day before I sat down with my Bible and was on hold with my bank. How do scammers feel about, and I'm not saying that they do have a relationship
Yeah.
with God, but like how do they justify that?
Yeah.
Their livelihood
Mhm.
is to deceive people. And reading Psalm 25 um helped me to sort of view myself through a different lens because I'd felt so ignorant and dumb for
Wow.
falling for it. But I realized that, the true victory in this situation isn't pulling one over on the scammers and saying, haha, not
Yeah.
me, or anything along those lines. But it's just realizing that, when you are deceived, the Lord sees it
Yeah. You
and
have someone defending you.
you have someone defending you, and you are not a victim of
Mm.
someone trying to deceive you. And there's so many more people in the world because of social media, cell phones. The things we have access to are crazy. You can look up someone's phone number and see where it's coming from,
Whoa.
like almost exactly. And that's just a Google search. And there's so much of our information that's out there, and we're so at risk of these things all the time. Um, but realizing that you're not a victim of it and that God like sees you and putting your faith in him will help you prevail over it.
Yeah.
It was just something that I exactly in that moment needed to hear. And it's so crazy how God shows you exactly what you're looking for, but you have to be open to hearing him.
Yeah. Just give him like a shot.
Yeah, and like opening my Bible rather than sitting there and crying and freaking out
So good.
was the right
And were you able to like go
decision.
to sleep?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I journaled it out. Um
And how has it been? Has it kind of settled down?
it has.
Okay, that's
It has.
amazing.
I'm no longer afraid of my information being out there. If it is, it hasn't been used. There's no signs of
Yeah, and it
that.
just like that's so cool saying it's like where you're not a victim in the sense that like it's like God's got you.
God's got you.
He's got you and he understands like where you're at and you talk to him about it and it's like you literally I mean just crazy because if you really think about it it's like this random human that's probably like I mean like the size of what like an insect in his like for in God's view like did something to you like he has every ability to protect you from that. It's just so
Absolutely.
crazy
But you have
because
to
he's
ask for it.
you have to ask for it. I mean, even sometimes when you don't ask for it, he takes care of you. So it's like he's just great.
Well, there's so many memories I have in my life where I know now that God was taking care of me, but
Wow.
at the time I thought I just had really good luck
And you were
and it
talking
worked
about that. So
out.
like you like spent so pretty much sophomore year you meet Jesus. You're like, oh my gosh, wow, I have a relationship with you. I'm sure you do. You feel like you had a relationship with him before, or do you feel like that was really like now I know you and
I didn't know Jesus.
you knew like religion?
I knew religion, I knew God, I knew there was a
So what do
God.
you feel like if somebody's like I don't know, like in church and they just don't feel anything or they feel I don't know. So how would you describe like the difference between like knowing religion and having a relationship with God? That's hard.
So that is hard, but I
Yeah.
think I think I've thought about it.
Yeah, because you've been through it.
I've been through it. Religion is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is.
It's a beautiful thing regardless of if you feel as though you fully believe in it. I enjoy the intricacies of learning about different religions.
Yeah.
I took a Christian political thought class that just sort of looked at the original Christian philosophers and, the religions that contradicted Christianity at the
Yeah.
time and the pagans and what they believed.
Whoa.
And actually sitting down and reading into those things is very interesting. It doesn't mean that I believed in the religions that I was reading about, that were contrasting Christianity at its origins. It just meant that I found it intriguing, like a story.
Yeah.
It was a story of how some people might look at the world and how they might believe things were created and might justify things that have no explanation.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, Catholicism was my only lens. It was the
Yeah.
only way I understood people's perceptions of how the world was created, how man was created, why humans are the only species
Mhm.
that can think and do the things that we do.
Mhm.
And I found that fascinating.
Mhm.
And I loved being at Mass. I found the discipline aspect of it very intriguing. I thought it was very good for me. I
Yeah.
loved the compassion that the Bible teaches.
Yeah.
Um, I loved being Catholic and
Yeah.
Christian. I didn't know what it meant for how I live my day to day and how I think.
Yeah.
I followed it blindly, which was great in a lot of ways. I think there were things I was better at when I followed it blindly,
Yeah.
but it wasn't true to myself or what I actually thought. It was what I thought I was supposed to think.
So it's like that kind of difference of being like, it is so interesting because with Jesus, I feel like that has been for me a huge thing. Is like sometimes I don't get something, and you actually can bring it to him. It doesn't mean that you deserve a reason because at the end of
Mhm.
the day, he is God and you are a human, and that's something to keep in mind. But like, I think he likes to help you figure it out.
He
Like
does. He wants to
he
be
wants to
at the
be
forefront of your
yeah,
mind.
and
He
it's like
wants
if he's like just like God, like I don't get why you're asking me to do this. I don't understand. Like I've had that conversation with him so much about like literally honestly sex. Like it's like I
yeah.
don't get this, and like,
Yeah.
but it is so cool. Like the thing where it's like I think he does want us to follow it blindly sometimes and just be like okay, but this
Yeah.
is what I say. But I think other times it's like he wants you to have a conversation with him because he
Right.
wants to be like you just like I want to let you know why.
Right, and that's why parables exist.
Yeah, because he
Is
wants to let
because
us know why.
and there's so many different parables in the Bible that are ingenious,
Yeah,
and everyone can understand them. The reason why Jesus used those is because there were a lot of people who were illiterate. There were a lot of people who, didn't
so
have this
cool.
big, like, philosophical
That
understanding
can
of things.
understand.
They can understand a metaphor.
So cool.
And I think that that's his way of telling us, like, I want you to get it. I don't
Yeah,
want you to
and
just
truly
like
get it.
hear it and do it. I want you to get it. I want you
Mhm.
to understand. I want you to apply it to yourself. And I want you to feel the truth
Yeah.
in yourself. And I didn't have that at all. I
Well,
had no,
you knew it was right and wrong, but it's like you didn't know why or didn't feel like it had anything to do with like your
well,
story or yeah.
no one had sat me down and given me an explanation that made sense. And I hadn't opened the Bible by myself.
Yeah.
So I couldn't find the explanations given to
Wow.
me. And that
Wow.
seemed daunting.
Seems
This book
daunting.
seems daunting when you haven't read
Whoa. What would you say to
any of
somebody who's
it.
like, this book's daunting?
Oh
I
my
can't
god.
read it.
You have to look at it almost like a collection of books, which is what it is.
Yeah.
Instead of one big book that you have to read front to back because the goal is to read the whole Bible by some point in your life
Yeah.
and to work on that and to know it, but you don't need to start there. I think I read the Gospels like 5 times before I gained the courage
To
to
go
look
over
at
to
the
the
Old
best.
Testament. And
So
that
just
was
give yourself a break and just do your best.
do your best. Try to understand it. If you don't understand it the first time you start reading it, that's okay because it's a long book. It is complicated. There's a lot of historical context for it
Mhm.
that, you could read it a million times over, but if you don't know the history behind it, you might not understand certain
Yeah.
parts. It is daunting, but the longer I've, you know, forced myself day to day to just open a book
Yeah.
and read a chapter, the more it seems
Less
smaller and more
smaller. So
concise.
cool.
And it's a lot of repetition. It's God kind of saying to us in different ways over and over again
Yeah.
a lot of the same things like trust in me when you're nervous. Do not
Whoa.
be afraid.
Whoa.
Um,
I love
be
you.
respectful of the people in your life and the people who aren't Christians and the ones that
Yeah.
are. View yourself as humbly as you can,
Mm.
recognize that you are not the center of the universe, but that doesn't diminish your worth. It's the same things over and over again. A lot of books are different. I think Job is very special and different. It answers a lot
Really.
of questions people have that
Suffering. Yeah.
suffering. That's my favorite book of the Bible.
Really.
hmm But yeah, I think that once you read it, you're like, oh, I read this before in the last chapter I read, and now I'm looking at it from this
It is so much of God
description.
speaking to you.
Yeah,
And him like randomly like making you understand things at a certain time and you're like, "Oh,
yeah.
well that's completely what I needed to know."
And you might read one chapter that says something, and then
The
at a
next
different
chapter.
point in your life, it says the same thing, but the wording makes more sense to you
It's so
in the
cool.
place in life that you're
It's
in.
so cool. And so, wait, where were we going before? I'm like did a sidetrack. No, but okay. So, but you feel like religion then is like all the things and all the things you need to know, which is beautiful
Yes,
because God
yes.
obviously loves all these things. But
Absolutely.
then relationship is like truly knowing these things, like in a personal way that
Yes.
it's like, and that's what you feel like it's like there's like a shift and like actually recognizing like, okay, Jesus doesn't just want me to like know about this. He actually wants my heart to like receive it.
Yes, he wants you to receive it. He
Mm-hmm.
wants us to be able to come to the conclusions that the Bible comes
Already
to
comes to,
on
yeah,
our own at
yeah.
times. Obviously, that doesn't mean you should stop reading the Bible and just trust your gut. It means you've read it so much and you know it so well and you know God so well
Mm-hmm.
that the first thing that comes out of your brain and your heart when you're faced with something terrifying
Is
is
his,
something from
yeah.
the Bible, is his
So
word
cool.
and
And
what he
I
wants
do
for
think
us.
I think that does come with trusting him. It
It
is because
does.
it's like at some point he's like, I have such a good track record. If I said this one little thing you don't get, sometimes you're just gonna have to believe it. But it's a
Yeah.
different kind of believing because you believe it in a like, okay, like you got me way.
Yes.
That's so cool.
And I think something that helps also is looking at myself as if I'm a child
Yeah,
because
we
I do a
are.
lot of childcare things
You
like
do, that's
babysitting,
right.
church ministry things. And something I've learned is that children are very skeptical
Mm-hmm.
of adults in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that they do not want to be misled with false information.
Whoa.
If you tell a child something
Whoa, that's interesting. I
and
don't
they
know
find
anything
out it
about
was
kids like that.
it's crazy, like and they do this mostly with their parents, but parents know their children like the back of their hand. They raise them.
Mm-hmm.
So they always know how to talk to them, but when you're taking care of someone else's child that's 5 years old, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, and let's say they point to a picture
Mm-hmm.
and they know that the color in the picture is periwinkle because someone told them that, and they ask you what it is and you say blue, they'll almost feel betrayed by the fact that you tried to lie to them.
Whoa.
Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you tell them something and they go fact check it with their parent, come back and tell you that you were wrong, they feel very impassioned to do so. Like they need to correct you because you tried to mislead them almost with
And that
false
makes sense
information.
because they're little. They're like, bro, I need to like help here. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Like I don't know what's going on.
They don't know what's going on and they rely on adults to tell them. But
Yeah.
when an adult tells them the wrong thing, they feel betrayed. They feel
Well,
like, wow, like I found evidence of this thing that you told me was true and I accepted it as true because you know more than me because you're an adult. And I found out that it was wrong
like
and that's your
that hurt.
fault.
That's your fault.
Yeah.
So almost treating God the same way.
We treat God the same way,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I do at least.
Yeah.
Because when I read something in the Bible about my worth and then I find some kind of evidence that I interpret as contrary to
What he
what he says
says.
my worth is, I get mad.
Yeah.
I almost get frustrated. I'm like, I can't trust you,
Yeah.
like this person, this instance proves that I'm not worthy, I'm not
Mm.
valuable,
Wow.
and I don't know why I believed that I was because you told me I was. That's a
Whoa.
battle that goes on in my head
Really.
constantly. And settling myself and realizing that God who created the universe probably knows more than this
This other
person
person, it's like
or
they're
me.
not. It's like not the it's like they're not in competition.
No, not at all. But it still feels like a betrayal
Yeah.
when I interpret things as different than what I'm told by the Bible.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that's when I revert back to how I was when I felt like I had to carry everything on my shoulders. When I'm anxious and I start freaking out and thinking I need to handle all of it, it reverts me back there to a place of fear.
Because you're like, I can't trust. It's just I can't trust you, right?
It's I don't have anyone. It's all me. It's
It's
all
all
on
me.
me.
And so,
Yeah.
and when you go there, like, where do you think Jesus meets you in that? Like, what have you felt? Hmm.
Jesus, everyone has their different kind of ways that they interact with Jesus and feel his
Yeah.
presence. I see him in a way. I place him like over there
You're
on that count. Like
really,
he would be sitting right there, and I would just visualize how much space
really.
he'd take up and what he looks
Okay, so
like.
how big would he be right now?
He would be right there.
He'd be right there.
He'd be pretty big. Like his head would be under those
Yeah.
paintings, kind of. I view him as
He's bigger.
it's a big god. So
Okay.
I don't, that's just it's how I see him. But there's always this kind of kind, compassionate expression. And I don't even know
Mm,
where I got this like look from. Like if I've
probably
seen
you
someone,
probably just it's probably just real. It's
I
just
think
him.
it's real for I
Yes.
think it's
No,
real.
it is him. Like that's him. So
He
you
looks
look
at
at you
me with
compassionate. So
this.
you're in a moment where it's let's say like you're believing you're believing your worth. Like tells you you're what is it? Fearfully and wonderfully made. You're like
Yes.
go out the day like I got this. You go to like some place and somebody says something and you're like I cannot believe that you would have said this. Like where do you think and you're like feel betrayed by God?
Yes.
What's his response?
His response, I don't you know those people in your life who they don't have to say anything to you. You just know them so well that if they look at you a certain way, you hear it
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know it
Yeah.
all. I've had friendships like that, relationships,
Yeah.
my family is like that. My brother could probably look at me and say a million things
Mm,
and he wouldn't have to open his
yeah.
mouth. It's the same way when I feel that way about God and I envision Jesus in front of me. The look that he gives me is so knowing. It's like, I know where this is coming from. I know that you know
Whoa.
better. I know what you've been through and why you're
Whoa.
here. And he doesn't look at me like he's sad or I'm disappointing him. He looks at me like a child. Like he understands
How you feel?
how I feel, my suffering. He understands why I landed there, and he knows that I know better.
Mm.
And that always brings me back. Just visualizing that always brings me back.
Wow.
And I visualize it now, whether I like it or not. Like if I wanted to have an arm out to Jesus and say, I don't want to see you right now, he'd still be sitting right there.
Wow,
Like,
Carolina.
because that's the only thing that brings me back to like feet on the ground, my present being, like my present state, out of the clouds,
Wow.
is imagining that Jesus is seeing it. It makes me feel more real. Like my experiences, my pain,
Because he
my
looks at you like
thoughts.
I get it.
Like I hear you, I'm here with you. You do not disappear when you're in pain and when
Wow.
you have these thoughts and feelings. It's not just
Wow.
you. And I think that's something that I struggled with a lot in my life.
Mm.
Was feeling like my day-to-day pain or even just the
It's
things that have
just you.
haunted me, it was just me and it disappeared if no one else knew about it.
Mm.
um but no one wants to hear about it. That's what it always felt
And
like.
it's really like isolating and lonely.
Yeah, and I think that's how a lot of people are. And I think it's what makes people cave in on their insecurities in themselves, is feeling like if they don't do something about it, then they won't be worth anything.
Yeah.
If they don't make up for it in some way, then they're not worth anything. If they're
Yeah.
not, if they don't like themselves, if they feel bad about a certain thing about themselves, they might compensate by being visible to a lot of people
Wow.
in a positive way.
Hmm.
And that's because they don't feel like their pain amounts to anything. So they have to make up for it by amounting to something to everyone around them
Wow.
and having worth in that way.
Explain that again. So you feel like people want to be valued by others because they don't feel like their pain is like seen, or it's just
I think people feel invisible when
mm,
other people don't see their value,
yeah,
and that can mean something different to everyone. It could mean money for some people, looks for some people, it can mean social status, it can mean doing well in a job. But I think that a lot of people experience internal pain, and that's a lot of their time alone is sitting with their insecurities or their stressors
yeah,
or whatever it is that's bringing them pain. Because I do believe that everyone struggles with the human condition
for
and
sure.
has something like that going on
Something
beneath
going
the
on
surface, and you never know. But I think that a lot of people compensate for that disappearing of self
by wanting to be recognized.
by, yes,
And you have everybody has a different way of wanting to be recognized. And
absolutely,
like this is true, and this is the thing that's so hard, right? It's like literally we really need to be just recognized by God. And
absolutely,
that's what our desire comes from. And like so you sitting there and seeing him and seeing his eyes, like that's like probably the most healing thing you could ever do.
absolutely,
Because it's
because
like that's what your soul desires. That's why we act out in all these weird ways. So good.
and when I've internalized that in the past, I've made choices that were so contrary to what I know to be right or who I am.
Yeah.
Um, because it's the same thing as that feeling when you just got scammed and you're on the phone
Yeah.
with your bank and you're just trying to do everything you can to make it right. That can be the same in terms of like how you represent yourself in your social life. Like if there's something going on
Yeah.
internally, you're going to try and do things to
To
make
fix
up for
it.
it and fix it. But if you sit there and you recognize that like you aren't invisible in this moment. You don't have
God
to
sees
make up
you.
for it. You don't
Yeah.
have to make yourself into something that's worth, like, that has
Value.
value. You are something with value. God sees you in this moment
He cares
and
deeply.
cares deeply. And you don't have to go out and try to, make yourself something
So
valuable
good.
because you're in this state, you're in this room, you're struggling, and you still have value. And that's not separate from yourself. And I think a lot of people try to separate that from themselves, the pain.
So good.
But Jesus looks at us in our totality and says, I love you, I'm here, you're worthy of me being here, and I died on the cross for you,
Mm.
and I understand your suffering. And that was something that I never had in childhood. And I think
Wow.
that was a core root of a lot of my anxiety as a human being.
Wow. And do you think that's a lot? That's a lot of people.
I think it's most people. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about their personal life. And I'm not one to judge if I see these things at all.
You just
But it
know.
reminds
It
me of
reminds you.
myself.
Yeah.
So I'll look at someone, handling a stressful situation. And I almost wish that I could explain to them that if they incorporated God in this equation, they take so much of the pressure off of themselves.
Yeah.
And I love the phrase hurt people, because it's
It's
very
true.
true. Like people love to villainize other human beings,
Mm.
especially ones that have hurt them. Some people feel like they need to villainize those people in order to justify their own pain.
Yeah.
And I think that what we're missing is that, someone who hurts other people is clearly
Clearly
hurting
hurting.
and carrying all of it themselves and looking for some place to put it
So
down.
good.
Sometimes it's on other people, it's not right. But that comes from a lack of knowledge of your own self worth, I
For sure.
think. And when you recognize your own worth, you can see other people's inherent worth.
Yeah.
And that is less likely to happen. But I see people walking around carrying these heavy loads, and
Yeah.
every time they express their anxieties about it, they'll say something about themselves that's negative, or something they need to work on, but it's in a negative way towards themselves,
Yeah.
or they'll bring up their past, or they'll bring up whatever is haunting them in the moment that's making this harder, because when you're in a bad place, it brings up those things,
Mhm.
like all the things.
Mhm.
And you see them carrying this weight, and those are the moments where I say to myself, like, I cannot go back to a life where I did that to myself,
Wow.
because even watching someone struggle with that,
Just makes you like, yeah.
it's hard to watch, not in a negative way towards them. It's just like when you know
You
what
want
something feels like.
you're like I want you to experience what I've experienced.
Yeah,
It's so crazy. So what would you say to like that person? And there's so many of these people who it's like honestly probably been struggling with like anxiety, depression like for years. And I think that there's like a lot of hopelessness involved with that. Probably like what you were saying too, like a lot of like something's wrong with me, like, and they don't know how to get out of that, or like I don't know, and like maybe they've even like given God a shot, but they're just like, but nothing has happened. Like, what do you think? Like, what would be like? I don't know, just like because what it sounds like from what you've been saying, it's like a lot of like give him a shot like consistently over time, pretend almost for a little bit, and pretend in like a hopeful sense of like I'm just giving my faith to you that this is what it could be,
Mhm.
and start really imagining or like really asking God to show you how he feels about what's going on. Like these are the things I'm picking up
Yeah.
on, like how you've like come from there to here, right? But it's like,
Right.
what would you say to that person? Mm-hmm.
So I also want to be very clear.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actively
Do
do a
any of
lot.
that?
No. So it's not like I came up with this plan and I
No,
had it
God just
all
helped
written
you.
out and I did all the right things and landed here. No, like
It's God.
I have no idea
All
how
God.
I've gotten to
Glory to
a good
Jesus.
glory to the
Glory to the
Lord.
Lord.
Yeah. I have no idea how I got here. He knows.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um Something that was frustrating for me when I thought about it when I was in those darker places mentally was I had tried medication,
Mm,
therapy for years. I tried all the things that people tell you to
it's gonna work,
try,
yeah.
exercising more,
Mm-hmm.
just yeah,
Keep going.
exercising more, reading self-help books. The thing that frustrated me the most was that nothing
Mm-hmm.
worked.
That's so
Um,
frustrating.
and it was years. It was years of trying to go to therapy and talk it out. It was years of trying different hobbies and seeing if it gave me a purpose. Years of reading self-help books that seemed to amount to nothing for me. And some of those things help people. I would never tell someone not to try it. The only thing that's worked for me is trusting in the Lord.
Yeah.
So the difficult thing is explaining to
So
someone who
good.
has tried so many things and to no avail, explaining to them that this is the thing that won't be
Actually
to no
actually
avail
works.
because that's what they thought about every other thing they've
Yeah.
tried. And I was in that place. I strongly disliked the idea of trying
Trusting
something like faith, like
to fix
something that
this, yeah.
to fix it because I was like, maybe I'm specially broken. Maybe nothing works on me and I'm going to be like this forever.
Yeah.
It was so, I mean, it's hard. I was also a teenager for most of it. And it kind of feels like that when you're a teenager
Yeah.
all the time with everything.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that what I would say is that, you know, the worst thing that can happen when you try to give yourself to the Lord and try to understand a relationship with Him is you gain a better understanding of what you want and your place in the world, regardless of if, you land there or you think it's going to work or you think you're actually going to believe it. Faith can bring you community.
Mm-hmm.
It can bring you friendships.
Mm.
It can
You're like, you're not gonna put yourself in a bad place by
no.
doing no.
No, and philosophy in general is very insightful.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity is a philosophy at its core, and it's much more than that,
Yeah.
obviously. But at its core, if you're not a believer, it's a philosophy. It's worth learning about. And if you find something along the way, just remember that and keep pouring into it and see how much you can learn. See if it teaches you anything. See if it brings you
Almost just test it. Like
test
that's
it
what you're kind of
out.
saying, like just test it because like it's not a stupid thing to test out.
No, it's a
There's like
very
it's a very practical thing to test out. There's people
absolutely.
that would love you. There's like these systems that help people. So if anything, if you're thinking, that's what you're saying, right? Like if you're thinking
Yes.
about this practically, it's a good thing to just try.
Another thing,
Mm-hmm.
drawing back to when I was talking about how I viewed the people who had been reading the Bible and seemed more yoked than me
Mm-hmm.
when I started my journey, something that a person might learn entering into the faith really quickly through testimony
Mm.
is that a lot of the people who seem so
Yeah.
squeaky clean in the Christian faith started out the exact same way,
Mhm.
with really rocky beginnings.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I thought, had an easy life, and it's so
Yeah.
easy to believe in God when your life is so perfect and you live in Malibu now and you're, whatever it is,
Perfect vibes, yeah.
perfect vibes. They will sit down with you and tell you all of the things that they have
That
been
brought them,
through
yeah.
because they've accepted those things
It's
and
like
have
Paul.
worked on them. Yes,
It's like Paul, the person who literally led the Christian faith, was killing Christians before.
absolutely.
And it's like it's really hard to even comprehend that. But it's like Paul.
It's
It's
like
like all of
Paul.
them. It's like literally every single person that God chose to elevate was the person that nobody expected. He's literally never done it with Jesus was not somebody that people would have expected, right? They
No,
talk about him as if he like right, there's that verse that literally says like he literally was like not even that attractive, right? There's like a
no.
verse where it's like and it's like what? That's so confusing.
Yeah, and John the
John
Baptist
the
ate
Baptist is like a
locusts and
crazy
wore,
person.
yeah.
Yeah, and it is just so wild because and it comes back to what you were saying. It's in the beginning of this podcast. It's like how much are we humble and willing to be used by God and willing to like let him into our life? And a lot of the times when we've had things go wrong and we've been in places of like needing him and all the things and dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression, all these things, we're actually in like the perfect place to be filled up with him.
Absolutely.
And so you are in a better place than the people who've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, you really are. I
Yeah.
mean, which is actually kind of like another topic because I'm just like, it is sometimes hard. It's like there's people who've got it all figured out and like they feel like they have no need for God. And that is a little bit of a harder place to be in.
100%.
It's like a scary place to be in. It's like,
It is
it,
because you stagnate yourself
you're like, I'm
by
good.
assuming there's no room for growth.
But anyway, so like there's that. It's just like you're in the best company and you're in the perfect place
Mhm.
to be filled up with God if you just give him a chance.
It's recognizing that you are not the other.
Mm-hmm.
You are in a position that the people that you're othering yourself
Yes.
from have been in and might still be in. The difference is that they're actively trying to acknowledge those things and to trust in God and take it off their shoulders. They might seem perfect, they might seem lighter. They probably are, but they're no better than you.
Mm-mm.
And they haven't had an easier road than you inherently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are easier paths in life, relatively,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no perfect path to God. It's narrow, it's winding,
Mm-hmm.
and it's lonely for a
Mm.
lot of it. But everyone's had to walk their own narrow, winding path that's looked
Wow.
completely different. And the one thing that connects us all is that we all had to walk a path.
Yeah.
And so what I'd say to someone who's struggling and trying to figure out if the Lord would be right for them, I would just say, like, get to know the people that love him. And once you get
Wow.
to know the people that love him, you'll find him.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's amazing, Carolina. Well, this was so amazing.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much
This
for
was
being
so
on the podcast.
fun.
I'm like so excited for you. Like you're literally stepping into like what you're talking about, like trusting God. Graduation, next chapter, just like being like and it is just so cool how he's prepared you. Like he's prepared you and even probably like um this bank thing. Like it's just
Mhm.
always that he's like preparing you and just so excited for what's next. So
Yeah.
I'm so psyched for you.
Hey, thank
Anyways,
you.
love you.
Love you.
Woo!